Jai Bhim, Jai Mullivasi. Today we have today it is Sunday, and as you know, every Sunday we are organizing a panel discussion in English. And today it is 25th July, and today we are discussing a very special topic. The topic today that we are covering is role of advocates in contemporary social revolutionary movement. And today we have our special guest speakers from various fields, not only from national level but also from international level. We have Mullivasi Brunala Devi S, who is editorial board of member of Patha Bedam magazine. And we have Mullivasi Dr. Ayyaz Ahmad, who is associate professor, United School of Law, Gujarat. Also, we have Mullivasi Sound Vedan Apranti, bar at law, Grays in London. Recently has awarded the degree of bar barrister in Grays in London. So today is a very special issue and a very special topic that we are going to discuss. Today, the topic that we are covering, it will be anchored by Mr. Tilak Kumar. So let me hand over to him. Mr. Tilak Kumar, please. I think some network issue is there with Mr. Tilak Kumar. So let me first welcome all the guests for today's panel discussion. We have Mr. Sound Vedan Apranti from UK. This is a special guest for today's program. We have Mullivasi Mrudula Devi S. Welcome, ma'am, to our show. And also we have Dr. Ayyaz Ahmad, who is Associate Professor at United School of Law. Welcome, sir, to today's session. Today we are going to discuss on a very special issue of basically the role of advocates. So advocates, as you know, or lawyers, you know, we have a democratic setup, and in democratic setup there are various pillars of our various pillars that are required to fulfill the system of this. Basically, there is advocacy. There is basically parliament is there, then executives are there, then media is there, and also judiciary is there. So every pillar has its own important way, and they have to fulfill their duties based on the requirements of the system, democratic setup. So in today's democratic setup, there is also a special role that is played by a judiciary, and it is one of the important pillar of the democratic setup. And definitely, the judiciary basically plays a vital role. And whatever the interpretations or conflicts or policies that are made by the democratic within the democratic setup by the parliament, definitely it has when it comes to a dispute level, it goes to judiciary, and judiciary is playing a definite role in interpreting the constitution as well as interpreting the policies and giving justice with the help of the democratic setup that we are having. So, considering this role of judiciary in a democratic setup, it definitely plays a vital role, as I told. So, let us go ahead and let us start with Mrudula Devi, madam. Madam, we would like to know in a democratic setup, basically, as I told that there are four pillars of the democratic setup, and judiciary is one of the important pillars. So, what this judiciary is playing a role? Can you explain us in a brief? And also, basically, the advocates or lawyers are they are the main king makers of this, or they are the main interpreter of this, who are giving the judgments. So, what are the skills or talents or qualities that are required within a lawyer or advocate? Can you just brief our viewers the role of played by the lawyers and the advocates and the role of judiciary in brief, ma'am?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's a good question. And is it audible?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. It's a relevant question in the present scenario of India. And in my opinion, law of version has changed a lot and the definition too. And in pre-independent India and in post-independent India also, discriminations and violations are always happening to marginalized people. And in a contemporary democracy, access to justice is so difficult for them that we need the help of a lawyer. So I do like to cite an example here. That's on 26th March 1972. Mathura, a Mulwasi girl, was allegedly raped by two policemen at Maharashtra. And after the Supreme Court acquitted the accused, there was public outcry and protests, which eventually led to amendment in the Indian rape law via criminal law amendments. This happened with the help of lawyers because they fought for this law. They spread their information to the social feminist movement, and later it became spread all over India in the form of a mission, as in the form of a mission now. And I think that law should have been transparent. We have to access it when we need. We have to get it on one time when we need. That we need the sincere service of lawyer too. And more lawyers from marginalized community we need. Only then they can provide judicial help to Dalits, Mool Nivasis and Bahujans. Considering paying attention to marginalized people is a responsibility of lawyers. So only then, so nowadays we know that in contemporary India, the marginalized people, it's so difficult for them to access justice because so there many of them don't know about from where they are getting law. If there is law also, that's so difficult for them. That there we need the service of a lawyer. We want, and also it is so for them it's so expensive to meet a lawyer and also to get service from the lawyer, and many of them don't know the basic facilities or in which way they have to reach to get law, and all these things they need the help of a lawyer, and also a trusted sincere lawyer. We need the help of a lawyer in Karalanji also, and many massacres happened in India, many of them in us in an evidence. So our court is always asking evidence, no? So they don't know how to give this evidence, and because they don't know, they are not literate, they need legal literacy, to provide legal literacy we need the help of lawyers. So in contemporary India and the present scenario, Mulvasis are always discriminating in digitally. So there we need the help of lawyers, and also only because the last word of a marginalized person is the last door is definitely the judiciary. To reach judiciary, from judiciary to common people, there is a long gap is there. To bridge that gap between these people to judiciary, we need the help of lawyers. That is why for that we need legal literacy also. Through this legal, from where we will get legal literacy, to common people, there we need the help of these lawyers. That's first in first hand I would like to say. That's why I asked them. I said about the case of Madurai rape case, no, because how this news, that Madurai rape case, the custodial rape and the consent, this and through the consent, and there is a different definition happened from a girl's consent that has given by the sincere work of lawyers. It happened. So in this way, social movements for to get social reformation and to mobilize social movements, first hand we need the help of we need the presence of lawyers. That is first hand I want to say this much, and later I will say more. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Just I would like to introduce Mridula Devi, madam. Madam is intersectional feminist, editorial board member, Pathabhedam, and magazine, and first Mulnivasi woman lyricist in Malayalam movie industry. Congratulations, madam, for your role in social movement. And now I would like to ask Dr. Aiz Ahmad ji. Aiz Ahmad ji is associate professor, United School of Law, Gujarat. Dr. Ahmad ji, so how lawyers can nurture professionalism and ethical conduct while being fearless and fair when it comes to discharge their duties. And and the second thing, what is the lawyer's role in contemporary democracy? How lawyers can act as challengers to perceived injustice? Dr. Aiz Ahmad ji. Please unmute. Please unmute.
So thank you so much for inviting me to the program and asking these questions. The topic is role of advocates in contemporary social revolutionary movement. I think that the role of advocates, lawyers, um, is to be studied, understood in two different senses. Although the better term would be to study the role of legal fraternity. What is the role of members of legal fraternity in contemporary social revolutionary movement, and then place advocates as one of the functionaries. Advocate is only one of the functionaries of the larger legal fraternity. But the legal fraternity, including advocates, play a very important role in building any social movement. So the first stage comes during the process of building of social movement. Multiple strategies to mobilize people to develop a certain kind of populism within the permissible boundaries of law. That is something where the members of legal fraternity, particularly advocates, come into picture. In building the revolutionary movement, social movement, political movement, how to make sure that the demands which are coming up from the marginalized sections, from the excluded oppressed sections, those demands can be taken forward in legislative and judicial domains uh, in, in a manner that these demands continue to get legal judicial recognition. That is one challenge, and therefore very very important that role that lawyers and advocates, members of legal fraternity, play in building the social revolutionary movements. Then the second stage, translating the agenda, the ideals, the objectives of social movements into legal and constitutional language. That is that is a process of consolidation, what we may call it, a process of consolidation, consolidating the gains of social movement, the gains of cultural movement, political movement. There also lawyers come to play a very important, very crucial role, sometimes as members of the parliament, as parts of the drafting committee, and also interpreting the law in the courts of law, as said before, the judiciary. So these two different paradigms from which I think we should study and understand the role of legal fraternity in general and advocates in particular in building social movements, and then translating the goals, ideals, and objectives of social movements into concrete legal constitutional language, which can be sustained, which can, in a way, sediment the norms and values which the marginalized sections of society want to establish in the society. Tilak sir, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ajamaji. And welcome, Mr. Samvedan Aparantiji.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. You are staying in UK.
Yes.
Great, great. And I would like to introduce Mr. Samvedan Aparanti. He studied barrister in Grace in London. After Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, a Buddhist Ambedkarite, studied barrister in Grace. Yeah, thank you. We are having an emotional contact with Samvedana Prantiji, and we are feeling proud of you. And
thank you so much.
And one more thing, your grandfather participated in a Buddhist conversion program at Nagpur in the year 1956.
Yes.
And you are following the legacy of Baba Sahib Dr. Ambedkar, and you are following your grandfather also.
Thank you.
So, what is the greatness of Grace in? Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar studied barrister in Grace in, and some of the viewers of this program may know about Grace in, but most of the Indians are not having that much idea about the importance of Grace in. So, first you please explain the importance of Grace in. Why Baba Sahib Ambedkar studied there, and why you also studied there?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for that really generous introduction, Mr. Kumar. And thank you so much for the panelists as well for allowing me to participate in this historic debate. It's a very good question that you have asked, Mr. Kumar, which is, what is the significance of Gray's Inn? What I would like to say is that the legal education that Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar took was only at Gray's Inn in London. We all know that he studied at the London School of Economics. We also know that he studied at Columbia University. But those universities was where he got his economics education. So as a result, we can trace Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar's legal journey from Gray's Inn. And if you think about the one achievement that most people know about Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar's impressive CV, is the fact that he was the chief architect of the Indian Constitution. So as a result, you can imagine and you can conclude that the source of the Indian Constitution starts from his legal education at Gray's Inn. So if you actually trace where India's constitution comes from, you can say very clearly, you can see very clearly as well, that it comes from Gray's Inn. That's where Baba Saheb's legal education took place, and finally gets translated by his mammoth task of writing the Indian Constitution. So although we can give a lot of credit for Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar for a lot of other things, for example, for taking my grandfather and 500,000 other people outside Hinduism and into Buddhism, also being a stalwart of the Reserve Bank of India, etc. So there are so many contributions that I could list here. But the one contribution that the world definitely knows about is that he was the chief architect of the Indian Constitution. And the significance of Gray's Inn is that that legal knowledge was acquired there. So I like to put it in this manner, that Gray's Inn is the fountain from which Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar developed and shaped India's constitution. So the reason why for me Gray's Inn was so important was that as a staunch Ambedkarite Buddhist, direct lineage of my grandfather, as you've mentioned, was at the conversion ceremony in 1956. You can say that for me, there was no other option but to become a barrister from Gray's Inn. I mean, what use is being in London? What use is there being in the UK and having aspirations to take forward the work of Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar and not becoming a barrister? So for me, the question is the other way around, which is that if I'm in London, if I'm in the UK, and if I want to help my community, if I want to help the Bahujan community, I could make the best use of my time here by enrolling and becoming a barrister through Gray's Inn. So just so you know, there are 4 different inns of court. Gray's Inn is just one of them. So there is Gray's Inn. There is Inner Temple, where Gandhiji studied. Then you have Lincoln's Inn, from where Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the founder of Pakistan, studied. And Middle Temple, from where Vallabhbhai Patel studied. But for me, of all these 4 people, the choice was very clear, that it was Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar in whose footsteps I wish to follow, and therefore I chose Gray's Inn. I hope that answers your question.
Great, Samvedanji. And if we study the Indian independence movement, most of the freedom fighters from legal fraternity, and most of them studied abroad. And another thing we can observe through the literature of Baba Saheb Ambedkar, most of the advocates who are having wealth donated their fund to the Indian independence movement. On the other hand, a vast number of advocates took salary from Congress party, and most of them are advocates and worked for the Indian independence movement. So their role at that time was they have played very good role. And in the present context, how lawyers or advocates can promote social change, how lawyers can act as a catalyst of social change. Please explain, Mr. Samvedanji.
I think that the first point that I would like to make in how lawyers can be catalysts for social change would be by making representations to lawmakers. What I have found in my experience is that lawmakers are extremely comfortable when they are speaking to lawyers. And the simple reason behind that is because lawmakers are not necessarily lawyers themselves. So they always defer to the opinion of a lawyer. Just to give you a small example, Mr. Kumar, the Equality Act in the UK in 2010 was established, was brought into the fore, and for the first time ever, caste was included as an aspect of the Equality Act. So, what that means in very layman terms or layperson terms is that it is illegal to practice caste discrimination in the UK. So, this was a major move that was brought about by lawyers and campaigners like me in order to inform parliamentarians, in order to inform lawmakers that caste is an issue in English law and it needs to be tackled and it needs to have some kind of a legal remedy to be given to victims of caste discrimination. So, as you can see, it was the work of lawyers and campaigners or advocates in this situation that actually was the catalyst for social change of illegalizing caste in English law. So I hope that answers your question with regards to how lawyers can bring about a change or be a catalyst of change. But there's another way in which lawyers can promote social change, and that is by starting legal proceedings in the interests of the public against the state. In the Indian Constitution, there is the facility for the public interest litigation. Similarly, in English law, we have something called judicial review. And what judicial review does is it basically holds the state accountable to any breach which may be ultra vires or maybe which may be outside of the constitution, and hold the state to account and take it to the high court. So as a result, advocates can be a catalyst for social movements by holding the state accountable in case it acts ultra vires against the interests of the public. And lastly, I feel that barristers, lawyers, solicitors, advocates can be catalysts for social change by being a mouthpiece for the marginalized communities. Unfortunately, as I'm sure Ms. Mridula and also Dr. Ahmed pointed out, that marginalized communities lack the facilities or lack the advocacy skills in order to bring their problems to the fore. So it shouldn't be a reason for them to be continued to be exploited just because they don't understand or just because they cannot speak the legal language. So as Ms. Mridula said, lawyers can be a bridge between what the marginalized communities are suffering from and the judiciary. So I think these are the three ways in which lawyers can act as catalysts for social change. One is they can influence lawmakers. The second is they can start legal proceedings in the form of PILs in India or judicial review in English law. And also they can be a mouthpiece for the marginalized sections of society. That's how I think lawyers can be catalysts for social change.
Thank you, Samvedanji. And I would like to ask the question to Madam Mridula Deviji. How do social movements influence policy making? Can social movements help more people participate in shaping public policy and affecting social values? Madam.
It's okay. Okay. So, yeah. First of all, I would like to say that the who are the policy makers? No, I want to say that is cabinet, legislature, opposition political parties, pressure groups, and NGOs, bureaucrats, and citizens are commonly making policies. In India, the presence of Mulnivasis and backward castes are very less there. They will never get the chance to make decisions. And so we all know that in December 25th, 1927, Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar banned Manusmriti as a simple reaction as the religious basis of untouchability. And this event was arranged during the Mahat Satyagraha, and it was a political action. Through that action, he burned the inhuman treatment not only towards women, but also Mulnivasis in private as well as in public sphere. And in post-independent area, practicing untouchability is strictly prohibited by law. And Article 17 of Indian Constitution ensures the untouchability is abolished and its practice in any form is forbidden. The enforcement of any disability arising out of untouchability shall be offense punishable in accordance with law. Why? Because Ambedkar, Baba Sahib Ambedkar, hit the Brahminical patriarchy. Social reformers are always making reforms in society. Only a pressure group can pressurize the cabinet in such a way. And the good applications of social reformation later became good policy. And we all know that in subaltern studies, if you go through the subaltern studies, discriminations are happened to the people, that's marginalized people, especially Dalits, backward castes, and most backward castes now. So, what are the social reformation movements they have done that pressurized the social movements? In Kerala, it is Kalla Mala agitation and Villuvandi struggle, and so many. And in Tamil Nadu or in other states, and in many states, if you check all the states, subaltern movements are making social reformation in the society. And if we go through our or if you observe our constitution, we will get protection of the what are the violations are happened to these people. We all the protections we are getting, if we analyze it very well or if you practice it very well, we will get protection from our constitution. But unfortunately, we are not policy makers, so we will not get it. So the such type of social movements can do a lot. So that we have that we can see in which happened in many times in India. So last time, so I think that 3 years before, SCST Atrocity Act, Atrocity Act violated in all over India. Dalits and Bahujans went to street and we fought against it. And last we protected our SCST amendment, Atrocity Act, one. And in my personal opinion, I was also a so in Batayambadi caste war. I have attended the caste war struggle, and it was a great movement happened in Kerala, and we women and children are also participated in the movement. So such type of social movements made our government many times to rethink about their decisions they are going to take. So that is why I said that cabinet, legislature, and opposition political parties and pressure groups and NGOs and bureaucrats are patriarchal, and also they are always giving their facilities or what are they are providing, or according to the what they are what the corporates want, that only they are ready to give. But we should have been a pressure groups. Only pressure groups can if we became pressure groups, only then we can make social changes there. So, and policy making, that also I said that there is a gap between our cabinet and the common people. There is a long gap is always happening. So the justice want to travel a lot from there to here. So this also, I think that this also, as I said earlier, that about the case of lawyers, this also this social as I said that the social movements can do a lot, because nowadays there is feminist movements and new social reformers can provide a lot to the society. So such type of movements can influence many people through their literature, through the debates. We can do more. And also only then, and in also in budget also we want to budget. There is, many times I'm also a mere seeker of what happened in presenting budgets there. Always the budget is, whenever budget is applying that every time they are saying that we have given 63 crores to Mool Nivasis. We had given this to women. This we had to give, we have given this. We have kept this amount, this much of amount to here, this much of amount there. In last budget we spent this much. Okay, everything. Then we want to say that they are claiming that we had given this to them, but there is no voice that how much we have received, how much I have received from our administration, from the from our government. There is no, it's only the voice are coming from the administration, from government. The voice is coming to us, but we have to say that yes, we got this much of. So such a type of giving and borrowing voice is not reaching anywhere, because in many of the through channels, through TVs, through media, they are claiming that we had given this much of facilities to them, and or always they are claiming. But in policy making, we don't have much representation there. If a representation or a decision making in the form of a decision making case, we will be there. Only then we can do something. That is why I said that. So I parliamentary in parliamentary system, we didn't get never get a chance to reach there. Or otherwise, we are in a parliament, but under Congress or under many BJP or under the we are situated in, we are located in many parties. No, they have their own hidden agendas there. They have their own. So we are mere puppets there. But how we can influence or how we can express our ideas in parliament, because only we have to enter through parliament. Political empowerment we need. For to get political empowerment, we need good policy makings and good social changes we need. How it will happen? First, we want to become pressure groups. So it is difficult to now. So the present India, we don't have much participation in cabinet. So we and also in opposite political parties also. Sometimes there is no opposition party, and sometimes there is no government is there to raise our their voice to support marginalized people. So that is why we want to become pressure groups. Only then we can touch or we can influence policies. So I think that social pressure, we want to become pressure groups. I think that my idea will be same like other panelists, but I think that now at present we want to become pressure groups. Only then can get something. I think. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. And now I would like to ask Barrister Samvedanji. After getting himself enrolled at Grace in Britain, Dr. Ambedkar, despite various impediments, was able to finish his law degree in the year 1923. He came back to India and served the marginalized sections. How lawyers can become voice of the voiceless and to use their legal knowledge to empower the marginalized people. Please explain. Please unmute.
Thank you. I think you have raised a very good question, and I would like to also say it was a wonderful segue, because you first mentioned that Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar returned back from Grazin, interrupting his studies when his scholarship ran out, and he had to serve in the royal court of the Maharaja of Baroda. But then he came back, completed his education, and then he became, as we all know, the voice of the voiceless, and used his massive legal knowledge, and not just legal knowledge, but also all his expertise and education and intellect for the uplift of the downtrodden. So the question was how lawyers can become the voice of the voiceless and use their legal knowledge to empower the marginalized people. The answer I can give in two forms. The first is that lawyers can work pro bono. And what that means is that they can do work for the public good. The word pro bono means for the public good. And essentially what that translates to is that they can work free of cost for the uplift of the marginalized sections of society. I think it's very important for lawyers to put to use their education, their advocacy skills, and also their rights of audience. What I mean by rights of audience is that their right to stand up in the courts of law and be heard, because not everyone has the rights of audience. So as a result, they can put to use all their massive amounts of education that one has to undergo during law studies, also their advocacy skills that makes them public speakers very naturally, and lastly, they can also use their intellect in order to use their rights of audience to better public good. So for me, it's very important that lawyers use their legal knowledge to empower marginalized communities, and not just use their legal knowledge or their profession just to fill their own pockets. You see, the issue right now is that a lot of lawyers are in the profession simply to line their own pockets, simply to earn a lot of money, because no doubt it's a very lucrative position or lucrative profession, or lucrative position to be in. However, it's very important as well to think about the plight and the demands and the needs of the people who are affected by real social ills. And that's one of the reasons why it's important to have lawyers from the marginalized community themselves. And the reason is because it comes very naturally for them to give a voice to the voiceless, to represent their communities without them feeling that it's some kind of a burden, without them feeling it's some kind of an obligation. So I believe that the first way in which to do pro bono work is one of the best ways in which lawyers can give a voice to the voiceless. And the second is by lawyers actually representing marginalized groups in court. Ms. Mridula Devi talked about the rape case that she mentioned that's happened, unfortunately, quite recently. And what she mentioned was that, there is a basic strife or a basic effort to even get these on the FIR system of the police. So for me, it's very important for there to be proactive lawyers who can work amongst the Bahujan and marginalized communities, who can do work pro bono, but also take on these tasks, not just be a lawyer for the sake of being a lawyer, but to perhaps visit the site where the atrocities have taken place, perhaps to help with the entire process in lodging those complaints with the police, and then taking the case on in the courts and delivering justice for the marginalized communities. So for me, it's not just a question of being a professional where one has the rights of audience, one has advocacy skills, one has massive amounts of education to their name, stands up in a court of law and then forgets about the issues. But what's more important to me is that a lawyer who takes on that particular issue as their own issue is what's important. And therefore, I decided, and I very soon realized that the best way to resolve the issues or help resolve the issues of the marginalized communities would be to become a lawyer, a barrister myself, so that it doesn't become a sort of going to some lawyer, going to some influential advocate, and then trying to ask them or begging them to plead the case, but taking on these cases myself and delivering justice to our communities. So one of the best things that we have in our arsenal is that Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar was not just a brilliant advocate and a brilliant economist and a brilliant crusader for social justice, but that he was a man from the very community he was serving. So for me, this personal connection is important. And as you've asked me how lawyers can become the voice of the voiceless, is by doing pro bono work. And secondly, by using their rights of audience for representing the marginalized groups in the courts of law.
Thank you, Mr. Samvedanji. And I would like to ask Dr. Ayaz Ahmadji. Dr. Ambedkar told us that about the ideal society. What is the ideal society? Dr. Ambedkar said 10 doctors, 20 engineers, and 30 advocates. When they work together, that will be the ideal society. So I would like to ask you 30 advocates. How to get good advocates, because in India, most of the toppers and top level students are attracting towards engineering side or medicine side, but they have not taken legal studies as their profession. How to attract brilliant students in legal side and how to bring them into the social movement. Dr. Ayaz Ahmed ji.
Yes, like I said, it's a very important. We have with us today Mr. Pranti, which is his graduation from Grains Inn. Grains Inn is a movement of pride. Your question relates to it. It's a movement of pride for all of us, for the entire Bahujan community and Ambedkarite community. But it is also a sobering movement for all of us. Why is it that it took so long for an Ambedkarite to pass out of the Grains Inn after Ambedkar? And that's where the, I think, answer to the question that you have just put is that legal education, at least in this part of the world, after independence, was presented in such a way that only those with extraordinary resources could get highest quality of legal education. As a result of which, people from scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, other backward classes, Bahujan marginalized communities, they could not get the quality legal education. Although we, after independence, saw proliferation of legal education, law colleges, law departments here and there, but the quality which is needed to excel at the top, that quality of legal education had a very premium price, which most of us could not, members of the Bahujan community could not afford. That was one reason. Second reason is the reforms to legal education, which was undertaken in the late 80s, 1980s in the form of national law universities. That was also a very problematic approach, because you see that national law universities were opened on self-financing model, minus the reservation for other backward classes. Yeah. So these two things, self-financing model where only those who have got resources they can enter, and then a whole, more than 50% population could, students could be completely excluded from legal education. Those two things. And third, putting too much of premium and emphasis on medical and engineering education, precisely so that legal education does not receive the kind of importance that it deserves in a society which is governed by rule of law. A society, a country which is governed by rule of law has got to give highest importance to legal education. But somehow Nehruvian vision was mostly for science, technology, engineering education, medical education. Even there, the massification of medical education was not conceived. So there are problems there in medical education as well. But particularly legal education, before the reforms till 1980s and after the reforms, it has been structurally designed in such a way that people from Bahujan communities cannot receive it. And then other problematic area, I think, which is something which we have to address, is that the norm and values about medical and engineering education, which were set up in society, established in society by the ruling caste, somehow that infected us also. And instead of looking up to Baba Sahib Ambedkar as a model of legal education also, most of the gains that he was able to consolidate into constitutional legal documents because of his legal education, of course, social science education plus legal education, we did not pay that much of attention on legal education when the structure was totally designed in such a way that we should not get into it. Then our efforts also at the community level, somehow they got into, in a way digressed. They were diverted. The attention and resources, they were all diverted to medical education, engineering education, and legal education did not receive the kind of attention and importance that it should. Even today, we see that when national law universities are now getting overshadowed by private law institutions, and mostly legal education is now mostly moving away to highest quality legal education is moving into private sector. Community efforts to establish law colleges, legal institutions where Bahujan community can take highest quality of legal education, they are still lacking. Of course, we know that the state structure and its resources, they are all designed to exclude. It is the job of the state, it should do it, but we know that the state is today is under the control of the upper caste, of an upper class people. So they are not going to do it. Who is going to do it? When we understand the importance of legal education, then somehow we have to gather our resources, focus at one place, and establish our own institutions of legal education. So that massification of highest quality of legal education among Bahujan students, uh, it can be done, it can be achieved, and that's the only situation in which we can move into the direction in which Mr. Pranti was pointing out, to do pro bono work, to be able to exercise a right of audience, to advance the cause of marginalized section, and also to this the topic of today's discussion, role of advocates in social revolutionary movement. Social revolution, by its very definition, means fighting against the powers of the day, trying to change and overturn the status quo, and that needs that calls for accumulation of skills, abilities, characteristics, which is fearless, which is to the point, which is aligned with the interests of the marginalized people, uh, to be able to do that. So state apparatus and structure is always going to remain loaded against us. We have to somehow find a way, how to overcome this challenge which has been put up by the ruling classes.
Mr.
Thank
Kumar, if you wouldn't mind, I would like to add to that point, because it's a very good point that for discussion's sakes. So if it's okay with you, I think I would like to add something. Dr. Ahmed, as you've said, you see the focus has shifted away from law into other sectors, and those have become quite narrow. So engineers, doctors seem to be the ones that what most people tend to go for. But the reasoning that I would like to give for it perhaps is a bit social and socio-economic. And the reasoning I would like to advance for that is that the very nature of the caste society is such that it is not respecting of the law. It is more respecting of the individual. So it's more individual specific. And what I mean by that is the way in which law is structured in India, thanks to the work of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, is that it is a universal law. In the sense, no one is supposed to be above the law. But the Indian social structure, the caste social structure, operates on such a level is there is different discrimination, or different punishments for different castes. So as a result, the way in which universal system of law operates is very alien to the Indian, or rather to the caste social structure. So you have a social structure which is very specific to who's the perpetrator and who's the victim. But then that has to be squeezed into a legal system which is saying, no, if the one law applies to everyone else. So we have two different systems at play here. We have a social structure which is very specific to the caste identity of the perpetrators and victims. And there is a universal law which is supposed to be in power. And the conflict between the two, I think, is the reason why the caste societies are unable to give law the respect that it deserves.
Absolutely. I think you are spot on in your analysis. I think absolutely.
Right.
It is not accidental. I would say it is not accidental that legal education was is and continues to be in such sorry state in our country. It is not accidental for me, as you just pointed out. It is designed because Babasaheb Ambedkar was writing in 1940s about the importance of legal education reform. There is one lecture which he delivered, very profound, prolific lecture on the reforms of legal education. This is purposely done. This has been done systematically. Yeah, please carry on.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir, Saunudhan sir and Dr. Ayaz Jafar sir, for this elaborative information on this particular issue. So now on one side we have the society, on other side we have the lawyers. So definitely whatever resources now we are having in today's date, we have to consider, or we have to emphasize on the same resources, and we have to take this movement, social movement forward. So now as a part of lawyers or advocates or whatever the qualities they are having, or whatever the resourceful things they are as a part of the society. Now, if we have to take this resourceful strength, we have to convert this resource into a strength, and we have to see how this strength can be utilized in the social movement, so that it can be materialized, and it can be made a force, so that we can move ahead in achieving the role of social movement. So, Dr. Ayaz Ahmed sir, how this strength, or how this force of lawyers can be used or utilized, or a network can be established between them, so that they can also be a part of the social movement. And this how we can reduce this gap between the lawyers, advocates, and the marginalized people, so that altogether the marginalized section on the lawyers can become a strength, and they can achieve the typical or the objective of our forefathers to go toward the social revolution. What do you think, sir?
Sir, I think that is discussion that we just had, the point has come out very clearly that advocates, if they do not come from the marginalized sections themselves, then it means very little that they are advocate. It means very little that they are advocate. They could be advocating the cause of the evil, of the devil. I mean, it's not necessary that just because you are an advocate, you are going to stand by the side of justice, by the side of truth. You could be arguing the cause of the unjust, of the powerful, of the oppressor. And that's why it is very important that the question of role of lawyers cannot be dissociated from the question of legal education of the marginalized. And there also, as I think Mr. Aparanti agrees with me here, the nature of caste society is such that we cannot depend on the state or the ruling caste or class, because their structure is they structurally fashioned in the way that they would design institutions of legal education in such a manner that the marginalized are excluded. So it will have to fall down on us, on the marginalized communities, those who identify with the cause of marginalized, to be part of that that legal education reform, ownership of legal education. It has to be in our own hands. Social revolutionary movement, revolutionary movement cannot, exclude legal education from its agenda. It has to be very much part and parcel of the social movement. Otherwise, social movement itself will not materialize. It will never materialize, because rule of law. We in a democracy. We are rule of law, and what is law? Who gets to decide about the nature of the law, shape of the law? Legal fraternity. And among the legal fraternity, if our people are not there, then even if we have a very strong, effective social movement, the gains of the movement will not be translated into durable, sustainable legal documents. It would become very difficult. Building the movement will also be difficult, but that aside, somehow say people manage to overcome those impediments. But say after the movement has succeeded, the gains are to be translated into legal language. And there again, the question of lawyers, legal fraternity from among the marginalized community will come across. So we have to take legal education as the central pillar of social movement. That's very important. I have been emphasizing this point in MNT programs and in my writings also. It's a very central question, and it has been very ingeniously taken up by the ruling caste. If you look from 1950 till today, it has been very ingenious. I mean, massive exclusion of Bahujan students from, say, we have 5 lakh students, everyone in India passing out as a law graduate. The quality is around, say, the quality legal education is given to some 10,000 students. If you count the CST and OBC students, you can count them on in dozen, I would say, not more than hundreds, because it is designed in such a manner. Exclusion is so massive and so systematic, and therefore we will have to own it up, take it in our own control. No matter lack of resources and everything, we have to concentrate our resources on this particular agenda, legal education of the Bahujan class, of the SC, ST, OBC communities in their own hands. And then only we can hope to have any kind of a social movement which can be sustained, which can challenge these powers of the upper caste and upper class in an effective way.
Right, sir. So how do you think that basically whatever these present day conditions, if there are 100 lawyers around 50 lakhs, so can we use this as a base roots or a foundation to move ahead in this particular establishing a network or bringing awareness among the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and other backward classes people or minority people? Means how this force we can utilize it or materialize it in current scenario? What do you think, sir?
Is this a question for me, Mr. Ashish?
Yeah, no problem, sir. Please.
Okay, thank you. So I would just like to reiterate this. One is that in India or in other caste societies, it is rule of caste, not rule of law. So what we are fighting for is to establish rule of law where there is rule of caste. So the penalties for different people, different castes were different, and they are still different. So what we have is a person who comes from an oppressor caste background going into a police station is treated with respect. Almost a red carpet is rolled out for them, versus a Dalit woman, for example, who has been violated, and her going into a police station, and she is almost, the atrocities are perpetrated by the police officers themselves or policemen themselves. So I believe that your question about a network of lawyers is so important, because the person who facilitates or tries to get justice on behalf of the marginalized communities can then accompany the victim and help them right from the point of the atrocity happening till the point that the perpetrator is convicted. So the journey from atrocity to conviction, one has to have a person from the Bahujan community, so holding that person's hand, taking them through the whole legal process, because it's not easy in a society in which caste is boss, if you like. So as a result, I think the network of local Mool Nivasi lawyers needs to be established, in the sense that whenever there is an atrocity, then there can be a call that can be sent out to a network of legal professionals who can immediately be on the scene, make sure that there's no witness tampering, making sure that there is no witness intimidation, and helping them first and foremost to lodge a complaint with the local police station, because that is the first step, or rather the first portal in which the victims face some kind of a block in navigating their way through the legal system, and then holding their hand throughout the whole process to the point at which the conviction happens, throughout the trial. So I believe that a national network of Mool Nivasi lawyers is important, so that at the drop of a hat, whenever there is some kind of an atrocity, there can be a force of legal professionals who can visit the scene and start the whole solidarity process, or rather the justice delivery process, right from the beginning. My father, in fact, has started a lawyers collective in Maharashtra, in which lawyers coming from Bahujan community have been connected via WhatsApp and other social media platforms, so that this very need has been fulfilled. Whenever there's an atrocity, that there are lawyers who can go and come to the rescue of marginalized communities, and often individually abused person from marginalized societies. So I think this can be a very good way forward, and we have on-call people who are willing to help out in situations of emergencies.
Right, sir. Very rightly said. Actually, there is a lack of awareness within the society, because whenever they are suffering from various atrocities or various due to the social system that is prevailing today in the society, they don't know where to go, because if they are going to the police, nobody is there to listen to them, or nobody is there to launch their complaint, or many things are there. So definitely the legal awareness is a major role that will play, because once they will know, once the marginalized people will know that there is a justice and there are ways to get the justice. So definitely the gap of fulfilling the legal awareness among the society is required. Dr. Mudra madam, we would like to know from you, now whatever these resources we are having, how you feel that how we can establish a network or national force of all these lawyers, advocates, and we can form a force which can play a major role in the social revolutionary movement. And definitely that pressure group, definitely through the advocates or lawyers at national level, definitely it will have its own place in the society. And also our opponents can feel that no, there is some alternative force, or some people are there who are there to support these marginalized people. How do you feel? How we can establish the network of all the lawyers, advocates at national level, and make a great force both ways? Ma'am, your mic is mute. Can you please unmute? Ma'am, your mic is mute. Kindly unmute your mic. On the screen, there's a mic button. Just click the unmute button.
Is it
Yeah,
clear?
please go ahead. Please. Yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry for the inconvenience, Joe. Thank you. Yeah, I think that we have to ask the, we have to take the help of social media, WhatsApp, Clubhouse, and Instagram, and one more I forgot. Instagram and Facebook, and one more I forgot. Twitter, no? Through that, we can make a national and international social network. We can do the same like-minded people's association. We can make a network. We can make it. So, and also not with the help of lawyers only it will be possible. We need the help of counselors. We want the service of educationists. We want the help of people, local activists and media person. Only then it will happen. And also legal literacy we need. So I think that the knowledge is the power. So Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar said that educate, agitate, and organize. No? So we have, many of them have education, but percentage level is less. But many educated people are here from marginalized community, but they don't know how to approach legally to break a bad system is still prevailing here, no? So why? Because we, through our curriculum, we are teaching fundamental rights, but we don't know how to write a complaint. If a Dalit woman is being raped by a person, we don't know how to write a complaint. Even might be she, if I'm so educated, no, if I have doctorate or you have doctorate, but we don't know how to write a petition to give to police station, you know, how to file how to file an advocate notice. No, we don't know, because legal literacy is necessary. Okay, why? Only if we have knowledge, we have legal literacy, only then we can hit the curriculum. No, our curriculum is still teaching Brahmanical patriarchies like Puranas, like the classic epics, like the stories under our folklore, or through their stories. Their Vedic law is they are giving through our movies, through our their literature. They are giving them more modern Manuvadi laws here, no? So through only we have knowledge, and also through that knowledge we have to spread this to other people. Our illiterate, so many illiterates are here, no? I do like to say an example that I'm from Kerala. Our mother tongue is Malayalam, but many of the tribal people are not speaking Malayalam, no? Scheduled caste Mogar community have their own language. They are not using Malayalam, no? But many of them are not get opportunity to enter public education sector also, or in the curriculum also. They don't know how to how they will learn all these things, no? So better way. For example, when I was in 6th standard, I have learned the I have learned the merits of breastfeeding through the ration card. No? So not with the help of curriculum I have learned the benefits of breastfeeding, but through ration card I have learned. So we can use the small areas as a curriculum. Curriculum means some children, some students, and some parents and a school building. Never think in that way. Curriculum means the society itself is a wide concept. Through public comfort stations, or in bus stand, and in railway station, and in every nook and corner, we have to write the law, how to apply, so you have to write there. in which way we have to approach a police officer to approach in that way. So there we need the service of lawyers, and also the lawyers from marginalized communities. So you know that in our law structure, there is no reservation also. No, so then how they can enter there? No, so make it more flexible. Access to justice is happening only through legal literacy. To get legal literacy, we have to break the present curriculum and make it more democratic. No, so I do like to sum up that for all that I have a voice to undo the fodder lies. It's a famous quotings of W.H. Hayden, my favorite poet. So unfolded, still India is lying unfolded lies. Now we have to fold it with the help of lawyers, and that we need legal literacy also.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Actually, we are almost towards the end of the session, and we are really thankful to you for joining this special session on this today's topic, that was role of advocates and lawyers in the contemporary social revolutionary movement. Before we end, I would like to take the concluding message on this particular topic, which you want to pass on to our viewers. What you would like to say, Rudra Devi, madam, in short.
Yeah, in short, that I think that my message, I don't have a particular message to give because I'm not self-sufficient now. My community is self-sufficient enough. If a self-sufficient person only can give message. So I think that I do like to recite the quotings of Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar. That is, I measure the progress of a community by measuring the progress the women have achieved. As a Dalit feminist standpoint, I do like to say, that get education and consider knowledge as a powerful weapon. Only then, like our Sandevan apparently has given an emotional proud to us through his picture. He stood near to Baba Sahib Ambedkar. It was an agitation, because agitation without weapon, no? So that is the social democracy that we are imbibing from various corners. So I think that many of them are misunderstanding the word agitation. Agitation is not ever. Agitation is happening through social education only. So to be a part of social education, because it is our right.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. I would like to hear from Sanvidan sir. What are your expectations from the lawyers who are there present in the society? What appeal you would like to make to all the national and international legal advisors who are there from the marginalized section of SC, OBC, and how they can come ahead and take this challenge of today's overall scenario, and how to move ahead. Sir, your concluding message, please.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rashesh. It was really lovely to hear your wishes, your good wishes, Ms. Mridula Devi. It was really nice to also hear from Dr. Ahmed. It's unfortunate that our other panelist as well, Mr. Tilak Kumar, is facing some network issues. But I would like to say on behalf of the Bahujan community that we are at a stage now, at a point now, where we have someone like me who has followed in the footsteps of Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, taking inspiration from him and daring to go to Gray's Inn and becoming a barrister. As Dr. Ahmed said, the other side of the coin is, why did it take so long? Why has it taken 99 years? That's a big question, and I think we will have to have a separate sitting and a separate discussion for that. But for the moment, we can celebrate the fact that we have a new way in which we can tackle international caste-related issues, not just at the local level in India, but actually on an international level. Because you see, by showing that we can illegalize caste in a country like the UK, we can also internationalize, or we can also illegalize caste internationally in other countries across the world. So my message to the Bahujan community of lawyers who is watching this, and also to the Bahujan community in general, is that let's come together and get a solution, a legal solution in every country in which we are going to, in the future, move into or visit. And the reason is because of globalization, the Bahujan community is now in the entire world. And just like the Bahujan community being in the entire world, so are the oppressors of the Bahujan community. The Mahajan community is also everywhere else in the world. So the message would be to unite. The message would be to build up more social networks and to share ideas and to share plans for the future in which caste discrimination does not go with impunity, but it is actually legally checked, and there are legal remedies available for caste discrimination so that it does not go unchecked and with impunity. So that would be my message. Thank you so much for having me on this program. Jai Bhim.
Jai Jai Bhim.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Sanmudan sir, and thank you very much, Budradevi ma'am, for joining this today's session. Unfortunately, Dr. Ayaz Ahmed's network is lost, and also Mr. Tilak Kumar's network was lost. But it was definitely a very informative session today, and thank you very much for sparing your valuable time for this particular topic and guiding our viewers on this issue of legal awareness, how we can bring the legal awareness. Definitely, this information will help them, and also the lawyers who are there in the marginalized section society, SHTB society, they will also think in this particular direction, how we can establish a nationalized network and how we can take up the issues of marginalized section people, so that both ways it will be helpful to the society. Thank you once again, and definitely we will see you in another sessions related with the legal consequences and other social topics related to Buldivasi Bahujan Society. Thank you very much, Pratap.
Thank you very much. Jai Bhim.
Thank you. We will be in touch with you. Thank you, Jai Bhim. So with your permission, I would like to give information on tomorrow's topic. Tomorrow, basically, we are having, as you all know, that we had launched the special awareness campaign on specifically politics, and we are every day we are organizing different topics on related to politics. And tomorrow we are going to organize a topic related to politics. The subject is अच्छे लोग राजनीति में प्रवेश नहीं कर रहे हैं, इसलिए हमें बुरे लोगों द्वारा शासित होना पड़ रहा है या शासित हो रहे हैं। हम लोग बुरे लोगों द्वारा शासित हो रहे हैं, so अच्छे लोगों को राजनीति में प्रवेश करने की जरूरत है. This is the topic that tomorrow we are going to discuss, and on this particular topic the panelists that we are invited are Mulnivasi Dev Pratap Singh. He is director, Toppers Club, IAS Academy, Uttar Pradesh. Dr. Hare Ram Singh Kushwaha, he is a CCC member of BAMSEP organization, and Mulnivasi Ram Kumar Singh, he is a Mahasachiv of PPID Uttar Pradesh Paschim. So with this panelist, we are going to discuss this important topic tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. So be there at 8:30 tomorrow, and definitely every day, please do watch MNT News Network prime time discussions. Thank you very much for viewing this today's session, and we will see you tomorrow at 8:30.